For our fame and inspired glossary of research term presentation, we will be discussing sampling. In a general sense, sampling can be defined as a small part or quantity intended to show what the whole is like. In research specifically, it can be defined as the individual chosen for a research study from a sampling frame drawn from the population to which the findings of the study are designed to apply.
Sampling means that you have a big group of something, usually humans like us, and we need to learn something about that big group. But we can't get all of those people together, so we have to get just a few that can help us understand what we need to know. It's like when you try a little bit of a new flavor of ice cream to see if you like it or not. But there are so many ways we can sample these ice creams. If there are 8 flavors of ice cream and you want to bring 3 flavors to your class to share, you can put all 8 flavors on a wheel and then spin the wheel 3 times. Whatever flavors that the arrow lands on, those will be the flavors you will share with your friends in class. This is called probability sampling. There are 9 flavors of ice cream at the ice cream store. You try the strawberry, and then it was so good that you go and tell your other friends to try it too. Now, lots of your friends all like eating the strawberry ice cream from that store. This is a type of non-probability sampling. Stratified sampling is like having 9 flavors of ice cream to choose from, but you only need 3 for your party. So instead of having one big group of 9 flavors, you separate the big group into 3 smaller groups and then choose one flavor of ice cream from the smaller groups. Convenience sampling is like when you go to the ice cream store near your house and only try the ice creams that are there because they are close by. There are 9 types of ice cream at the store, and you want to get one type for your party. We will group together all the fruit flavors, candy flavors, and cookie flavors. Now we will put all 3 in a hat. Whichever one we pick out is the type of flavors we will bring to the party. This is an example of cluster sampling.
Sampling in research means choosing a specific group of people from a large group according to the topic so they can participate in your research. An example of sampling would be having 4 different types of writing material, whether that be crayons, markers, pens, or pencils, and you try writing a sentence with one of each to see which you prefer to write with, but there are still other ways to sample things. Let's say you were given 5 different pieces of paper to write down 5 different things that you like to do throughout the day. Once you are done, I would ask you to put the paper face down on the desk, moving them around. Then randomly pick up 3 of the 5. The 3 pieces of paper that are picked up are now part of the data you are collecting for research. This is an example of probability sampling. Another form of sampling is non-probability. An example of this would be when you enjoy playing a sport so much that you tell one person about it, who tells another person, and it continues until all your friends are now playing that same sport. Stratified sampling is when you have a large group and divide the group into smaller groups to choose a sample. For example, if you want to find out which color is the most popular, red, blue, or green, out of 20 of our classmates, you would divide the whole class into 4 groups of 5. Then randomly choose one classmate from each group to choose which color they would like most, red, blue, or green. Convenience sampling is when you use the participants who are available here and now. So if we want to know everyone's favorite part of the day, we ask everyone within the class to fill out a sheet before the end of class in order to collect everyone's information on the topic. Cluster sampling is grouping similar traits and putting them into labeled groups to make your sample group. For example, your class wants to find out what type of food should be added to the food bank at school, so divide them into categories such as canned food, boxed food, and baked goods. After separating the possible types, you write in the pieces of paper and draw one out of a hat.
Sampling in research can be explained as taking a generalized representative group of people from a larger group that a study will be based on. For example, if you were attempting to research on average how many hours per night Seneca students sleep, instead of interviewing every single student, you would take a set amount of participants that reflect the overall Seneca population. Probability sampling is done when looking at a group of individuals and randomly selecting a number of people for data rather than the entire group. For example, if you wanted to do a study on Seneca students, but you received too many volunteers, you could choose every fourth volunteer to participate, or toss all their names in a hat and hand-pick them out until you have your desired number of participants. Non-probability sampling is when you don't have a specific way of choosing participants in the study, but rather want to get as many individuals interested in your study in order to create a large, diverse range. For example, using various methods of sampling such as convenience and snowball sampling, where your goal isn't to target a specific audience, but rather your goal is to reach out to as many people as you can. Stratified sampling is when you take a population and divide it into groups with age, gender, and so on. These groups are then put through random selection in order to gather information. For example, when doing research on a large population, rather than using that large population as a whole, you would divide it into smaller groups to increase the probability of sampling a diverse group. Convenience sampling is done by taking a topic and asking available individuals for their participation. For example, when doing a research study on how 8 a.m. classes cause depression in post-secondary students, instead of using sampling methods that result in retrieving generalized data, you would just ask students that are easily accessible, such as students who are in the same program as you. Cluster sampling is the initial sampling of large groups that have been categorized into smaller groups based on similar characteristics. For example, when we received our topics for BCD 606 Assignment 2, the terms have been pulled out of hats, though the terms had been divided into 3 subgroups on whether you were doing the assignment alone, with a partner, or in a group of 3.
Seeing that the sampling can be separated into 2 different groups of probability sampling and non-probability sampling, non-probability sampling is a form that is most commonly used by students. In addition, depending on the kind of topic you have and the type of sampling that is chosen in order to gather research depends on the reliability of the data and information gathered. Understanding the term sampling and the different variations of sampling methods, in addition to understanding how it works, allow for a framework to be refined and data obtained from sampling to provide credible results within research. This is important for BCD scholars to know as it provides them with information that is necessary in order to create a successful research study that includes generalization and overall a strong sample of participation. The term sampling is related to BCD in various ways. Understanding sampling allows BCD students to explore many different types. In exploring these types, they are able to learn more about the influence that sampling has on data collection and overall the study's generalizability and validity. Considering that BCD 606 students are likely to review research, it is important that they understand sampling for this as well. Finally, a strong understanding of the term will allow them to enter their future capstone with more confidence in their understanding. It will allow them to collect diverse, rich, and generalized data when necessary.
And finally, here are our references. Thank you for joining us and listening to our presentation today.